I'd say I was diagnosed with depression when I was 13 years old, dealt with that until I was about 16. I became absolutely obsessed with creating the best life for myself, improving myself, my psyche, my mental health, my soul, and then discovered a few general self-development habits, basic ones like getting in the gym, meditating, going on walks, focusing on positive versus negative thoughts.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joshua Evans. I am a clinical mental health counseling student at Liberty University. I'm here with my co-host, Kevin Odom. He's a licensed clinical mental health counselor and licensed clinical addiction specialist. We are here today with Mighty Brad. Mighty Brad has a really cool story. We're going to go ahead and jump right into it, kind of hear what's going on. So, Brad, I've heard a little bit about your background, but I always love to hear it from the person themselves. So just give me kind of a little overview.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you guys having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm super excited to have this conversation. And so to start it off, I'd say I was diagnosed with depression when I was 13 years old, dealt with that until I was about 16, and then discovered a few general self-development habits, basic ones like getting in the gym, meditating, going on walks, focusing on positive versus negative thoughts, and just that got me really snowballing into the whole online space of that. And then I became absolutely obsessed with creating the best life for myself, improving myself, my psyche, my mental health, my soul. And then that translated to discovering a few spiritual/religious concepts that I got really interested in discovering, philosophy, psychology, improving relationships, and then really just encompass all of this and made it the purpose of my life. So ever since I went towards the middle and end of my high school career, if I wasn't in school, or even when I was in school, I was focusing on self development, whatever that meant for me. And so there was actually this one specific time, which I think I went a whole month, in which I was incredibly conscious. This was when I was 16, throughout when I was at lunch at school and when I was in the classroom, to never say a single word that was bringing myself or somebody else down. It was this really beautiful, just reminiscing about it, it was a really beautiful experience because it was just encompassing of focus on positivity rather than negativity. Obviously, we can't do that 24/7. There's negative emotions and experiences that come up regardless of whether we want to, for them to or not. But that was a really interesting experience. Anyway, from there, when I was 18, I felt like I had enough experience to start a platform online. So I started my own podcast. I've interviewed well over 100 different people in different fields and professions, kind of people in your field as well as many others. And so started my YouTube channel and podcast, and then one of my first mentors discovered what I was doing on social media, and he was a high performance slash business coach, and he's like, "Hey, have you ever thought about something like life coaching, high performance coaching?" I'm like, I feel like I've heard of it, but I wasn't really familiar with anything. I just did the podcast and stuff for fun. But also, my life was in disarray. I was going to school for psychology. I didn't really enjoy it. Not that I didn't enjoy psychology, but I just always hated school for my whole life. So anyway, I ended up dropping out of school. He helped me kind of start the business. And then now I work with well over 60 clients in my life coaching practice, really focusing on probably all the things we're going to talk about today. So could be more grateful for what I'm able to do. And I like to tell people, if I wasn't depressed and diagnosed with it and went through it, I don't think I would care about any of this stuff.
Wow. So I will go ahead and just say, like, very rarely do I give like my stamp approval. Like, yeah, this guy's got going on. But yeah, dude, that is like awesome. So I want to take a step back just a little bit. Okay, you said at 16 is when you saw this transformation, correct?
Yes.
So can we kind of talk about that a little bit, about what brought on that transformation?
That's a really good question. So it was about 3 years into the depression, you could say. I don't think I was taking medication anymore because I didn't really see, my parents said it was helping. I didn't really see how it was. I wasn't that conscious and aware at 13, 14 years old. And so I really think it got to the point where I wasn't as depressed as I was when I was first diagnosed with it. It wasn't as bad, but I still felt very lost, purposeless, and like my life was in disarray and nobody liked me. I was bullied, so on and so forth. Didn't have any relationships with people that I felt like cared about me at all. And so the start of it was really a YouTube video by a creator named Elijah Long, who still makes YouTube videos to this day. His channel is much bigger now, of course, since it's years later. And he just talks about just self-development, talking to women, getting your mental health in check, creating a better life for yourself, really becoming a masculine man, you could say, in the modern world. And so I listened to, I don't know what the exact video title was, but I remember it was his, and I remember thinking to myself, my life really sucks. Maybe I should try some of this stuff. And so I just took a few of the general tips that he was talking about, and then from there it started to snowball. And yeah, it really started with really feeling sick and tired of feeling sick and tired all the time. It was about 3 years into it, and at that point, I was at 16, so I was a little bit more aware than I was a few years ago when it first started. And like, how much longer can I live like this? I can't keep waking up every day not wanting to be here. I can't wake up every day hating going to school, hating everybody around me. It's like it's not worth it. And so anyway, seeing his video and having that realization really sparked the fire in me, you could say, to shift my life around. And then from there, just like I was mentioning briefly in the beginning, got obsessed with all the different conceptual bases of how to do these things, and then continuous experimentation, vocal tonality, reading body language. How do I talk to people? How do I get people to like me? Not in the manipulative sense, but how do I get myself to a point in which I'm completely authentic and comfortable in who I am. That way I attract the people that are right for me and repel the ones that don't like me. And it was tough at first because, your average 16-year-old doesn't care about mental health. They don't care about, self-development. And so I was going to all my friends. I'm like, I'm taking cold showers, I'm doing all these things, and they would laugh in my face, tell me I was stupid, tell me I was dumb, and it got to me. I felt really lonely, and it didn't help because for the 3 years prior, I already felt completely isolated. So now to find something that was actually making my life better, to share that with people, and be further rejected for it, you can imagine how that felt. But the cool thing is since I actually saw the progress happening in my life, there was no questioning in my mind of like, oh, I'm going to stop doing this because people are judging me for it. I wanted connection and I wanted people to like me. But I knew that in the back of my mind, if I kept going on this journey, if I kept developing myself, if I kept becoming better, more conscious, aware, in tune with myself, then naturally the people who I end up meeting that are on that same wavelength will resonate with me. And so it was really 2 years in until I started to meet a few people after I started my podcast online and starting to talk to other people in the space and who just cared about these things, in which I finally felt connection for the first time. And I'd say my romantic relationship partners at the time, not that they were against what I was doing, they thought it was cool, but I never felt like I could truly connect to them, because it was kind of like, I'm going on this rant or a passionate thing and I'm researching, and then she looks at me and she's like, oh, that's so cool. And I'm like, we can't even have a conversation about this. Like, what am I doing? And so anyway, I mean, fast forward to now, I'm in a beautiful relationship with my partner. She's so in tune, so feminine, and she holds the space for me. Of course, we can talk about all these in-depth concepts, and yeah, I mean, just the whole gist of this. That's where it started, and then it's gotten to where it is now.
Okay, so just kind of unpack it just a little bit. 16, you see this guy on YouTube. He essentially sparks some motivation, gives you some skills, and you just run with it.
Yeah, it was. It became an obsession very quickly. There was nothing else in my life that took up any mental space. It was simply, how do I make my mental health better? How do I finally talk to women? How do I get more in tune with myself? How do I make the connections I want? And just every concept and nitty bitty detail I could find, it was, how do I apply this to my life? And just, if I wasn't in school, like I said, I was researching, I was experimenting. Uh, um, and it was interesting because I even got to the point in which, at that time, occasionally I was like, no, I'm not going to go out this Friday night, or I'm going to do this. I'm going to go and do this instead. And Chris Williamson, one of my favorite podcasters who I had the pleasure to meet in person, has this great explanation of it. He's like, when you start to get into self-development, a lot of people don't resonate with it. A lot of people shame you for it. And he talks about how it's like, oh, everyone's like, oh, you're not going out with us this night. Like, oh, you're going to sit home and read your book. Look at you, you loser. And it's like, oh, look at me in 2 years compared to you. And it's not to say, oh my God, I'm so much better than you, but it's in the sense of like, hey, all the mechanisms and things that I've incorporated, I'm going to be at this peak in my life, and you're going to probably be in the same place. And now I'm going to be the one pulling you out. But of course, probably not even going to be pulling you out because you're not going to desire that. If you have the same routine over and over again, you don't want to change that. And that makes sense because our brains obviously are very habitual, and we stick to things even when they're not beneficial for us. And that's the most interesting part.
Yeah.
And also the other concept there, which was really interesting for me to dive into, is the people that actually talked about focusing on yourself and self-development is selfish. And I thought that was really interesting because on the surface level, from the outside looking in, if you're not doing it, it's like, okay, I can see that a little bit. Like you're retracting from people a little bit. You're in certain regards doing things, isolating yourself, doing things by yourself. But I also don't want to make the mistake of explaining how self-development is by yourself, because that's what I had to do for the first year or 2 years. But it got to the point where it's like me running my group coaching practice now and being in multiple groups myself and having multiple coaches and mentors myself, there's no place like being in a group setting talking about these concepts together, because I think community is so essential. But that selfish piece essentially of it's interesting because I think it's actually more selfish to not work on yourself. Because if you don't work on yourself, all of your unconscious patterns and all the times people trigger you, all of that is going to be projected onto every single person that you ever interact with until you become aware of it and change it. And the problem is, most people go throughout their entire lives and they never become aware of these things. And a part of the work I do is to help people do that. I work with guys who are 18, so just kind of starting their life in the world. And my oldest client is in his 60s. So it's like there's people all of the different age ranges that are, a lot of people are, I've received a lot of criticisms of, Brad, you're young, you're 21. What do you know about life? Have you lived any, or not have you lived any life? It's you haven't lived any life. And these are all criticisms coming from people who haven't actually seen what I do and aren't interested in working with me. And so they're kind of people from the outside looking in, being like, oh, life coaching, oh, helping people. It's interesting because the people that criticize what I do are the people that need it most. And it's not to inflate my ego, but I'll give you an example. One of my friends came to me and he's like, Brad, what you do is a scam. Can't believe people pay you money for this, so on and so forth. And then about the next time I saw him, he was picking up me and my girlfriend from the airport, and he's like, oh my, I can't believe, like, I think I'm gonna mess it up with this girl I'm talking to, and I'm kind of depressed, and like work is kind of stressed right now. And it's like, oh, so you just shamed me and told me that what I'm doing is a scam, when if you were in my group, which I would of course give to you for free since I know you personally, would exactly help you out. And so it's just, that's been the most interesting concept for me. And yeah, I think it's more selfish to not work on ourselves, because we just throw up on everyone constantly. These are the people that you see in public who are getting into screaming arguments with their family in public and getting mad at someone for cutting them in line. I had a situation a few weeks ago in which there were like two lines at the grocery store I was at. I had two items. This girl had her full shopping cart, and I was in the self-checkout area doing that. Of course, there was another one available, but she comes up to me. She's like, the line was over there? I go very calmly, oh, that one? Yeah, no, I wasn't in that line. I was over there. She's like, oh, okay. And then she speeds off to go to her other self-checkout line. It's like, oh, these are real people. This is a woman in her mid-40s initiating a conversation like this. It's like, how unconscious do you have to be? Again, I don't like to shame people for this, because this is all us just reliving our programming. We were never brought to the awareness that we can control our thoughts, we can control our actions, and doing something like that isn't productive for yourself or anybody else. And so it's more of, anyway, my whole purpose in doing what I do is to help bring a little bit more awareness to the world we live in, because I think we all need it, and to help people create the best versions of themselves, whatever that means for them.
Imagine a day where fatigue doesn't stand a chance, where clarity perks up your focus as the clock ticks on. Discover W Energy, the drink that transforms ordinary moments into opportunities. With no sugar and flavors that feel like gourmet art, each sip stirs your senses, readying you for greatness. W Energy is a focus energy drink that contains no sugar and is available in a variety of unique flavors. Their coffee fruit cherry extract is the star of the show. This ingredient is what makes W unique and helps to provide smooth and effective focus and energy, making it perfect for anyone who needs to conquer a task. W flavors are created with one goal in mind: to taste unlike any other beverage. We combine bold and unique flavor combinations to craft an experience for your tongue with each sip. W achieves its smooth, effective focus with a high-end tasting experience while using no sugar, no fillers, and no artificial color or dyes. Every product they create follows the same philosophy: be effective, be clean, and taste as good as nature will allow. Use promo code ONEMOMENT to enjoy 10% off their products. And most importantly, they sponsor the One Moment podcast. They are helping to raise awareness of mental health, substance use, suicide, and much more around the world, seeking to make a global impact, reducing stigmas and changing lives one moment at a time. Visit onemoment.chain.box to learn more about our podcast. Follow us on our social media channels for more information and to stay up to date with our episodes.
So it sounds like, you were using these skills to essentially better your own life, better your mental health. And you were like, why can't I put this to my social life, to connect me with others and also to help others as well. And so that's essentially what you do today in your coaching career, is essentially the same thing, correct?
Yes.
Nice, very nice. So let's jump forward just a little bit. You're in school. You're like, I've gone through this mental health issue myself. I'm kind of seeing the other side of that a little bit. I'm in school for psychology, and essentially I'm not having fun. This is not where I want to be. I don't see myself progressing and growing in this area. And your friend kind of pushes you towards life coaching.
So it was actually a mentor. So someone
Okay.
who runs his own business online, kind of saw my content online, reached out to me, had a conversation. I paid him $3,000 to help me out, and took a Hail Mary. And I'm like, well, my life is, what else am I going to do? So it's like, okay, I got to take the jump.
Okay. So kind of explain to me a little bit, since you have a little bit of a background in education and psychology, like what is the difference between like counseling and life coaching?
Oh, I think that's a good question. Well, I think, with life coaching, you don't need any sort of degree. They have certifications for it. You don't need it. And I think counseling is more of, you're getting a degree and you're licensed and you're in the medical field per se. I think life coaching is so I think the biggest distinction I would say is like life coaching. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't claim to be. I don't associate myself with that field. Do we talk about concepts that they talk about in, let's say, a psychiatrist or psychologist office? Like, you're going talking about depression. Yeah, we talk about depression here. We talk about all these life skills and so on and so forth, and all these mental health issues. But I'm not prescribing any sort of medication. There's nothing of that nature. So it's really working through the mental shifts and all of the things. So there's many aspects. So although life coaching isn't therapy, it's therapeutic, you could say. And so there's very similar overlaps, although of course it's different. There's licensed professionals in the medical field, and I am not that. And so I'd say that's the biggest distinction. But yeah, there's definitely so many overlaps, and especially on a conceptual basis, and what people help people with, and so on and so forth.
So is there like a particular area that you kind of promote yourself as, like, I'm a life coach if you're dealing with this depression, or you want to get the girl, or you want to get a better job? Like, what is there, like, specialties to that, or are you much more broad? Because I mean, it sounds like you've been able to use these skills in multiple areas of your life and be able to help people in multiple areas, but like, what do you focus on, if
That's a
anything?
really good question. Yeah, so I'm definitely more of the broader type life coach. I think there's life coaches that specialize in something specifically, but I brand myself as a self-development coach. So self-development, relationship, spirituality, that combines many different things, of course. And so I would also say, yeah, in kind of that whole department, I, for a long time, heard everybody online say you have to put in your Instagram bio and you have to tell people. I help guys in their 20s reach more confidence. And it's like, I think there's coaches that are very specialized in that, and that's great. But I started to think to myself, because that's what even some of my mentors were telling me. And I'm like, how much can I do with just focusing on someone's confidence before it reaches a point in the conversation in which we realize it's not actually about confidence, it's about this other area, or it's about bridging the gap between two of these things, and then it expands to the entirety of your life, and there's so many different concepts there. So I realized that I figured for myself I would be limiting myself if I just said I'm just focusing on confidence or just focusing on relationships. So the beautiful thing in what I do in my practice is we focus on all these things. So some of the sessions I do with my clients is we'll do open discussions and kind of like a Q&A session. So some of the guys come prepared with a relationship issue they're going through. Some of them come prepared with, I feel like I don't have any discipline in my life. I feel like I have no purpose. I feel like I'm lost. I had one of my clients just leave a religion, and he's in his late 20s. So he's experiencing the whole lostness of that whole experience. And so we really cover everything you can imagine. There's no topics off limits. And the beautiful thing about this is I'm challenged every day too by my clients. So there's plenty of times in which a client starts to talk about something that I haven't explored myself. And so people from the outside looking in may say, well, if you're not an expert on that, well, why do you feel like you're qualified to answer that? And well, there's so many areas in which I am experienced that can bridge the gap and kind of take those concepts and apply it to this. And I essentially use my creative mind to come up with these things. And also, I'm very open with my clients. If they ask me a very specific question about something, and I know I don't have any experience in it, I'll preface it with, hey, I haven't experienced that specifically, but here are some ideas that I have how you can start to address this. I like to the best of my ability, leave things very open. There's never a one size fits all for the improvement of any individual. And so I do my very best if a client comes to me with a question to like, hey, here's like 2 or 3 things you could start to interact with and questions to ask yourself and things to reflect upon, activities and things to try for yourself, as opposed to like occasionally there's situations where it calls for me saying, hey, do this thing for 5 minutes tomorrow, get back to me, see how it goes. But oftentimes it's a lot more open and broad because there's so many intricacies to us as human beings that kind of just, that's why I'm not a huge fan of like the motivational speakers. I think there's a place for them and I think it's beneficial to listen to them, but they're very broad and I think motivation is very temporary. And so you can feel motivated to do something and then tomorrow you don't feel motivated. Now what? You're just going to stop, right? Well, you know what you're going to do is you're going to turn on the motivational speaker again on your YouTube and watch it again, feel a little bit an ounce of motivation, but that's no foundation for your life. So we want to dissect your mind and figure out, wait, where's the incongruency here? Why do I procrastinate all the time? Do I even connect to the work that I'm doing? Do I even feel like I connect to myself? Do I even know who I am? So it brings up all these deep philosophical questions that we really like to dive into. And yeah, in what I like to do, we like to go very deep. Sometimes we're talking about surface level concepts and we kind of unpack that. And sometimes we're going really deep into everything and getting into the roots of everything. I like to address both of those things because I think I've had plenty of guys come into my practice and they're like, they give me some objections when I'm on the first call with them, kind of telling them about what we do and if they want to join. And they're like, I've been in a group setting like this before. It's like they're not that beneficial, or it's like this happened to me, or I had a bad experience. I actually asked one of the guys in particular how his experience was with a past group because I'm always curious. And he was like, I was experiencing relationship issues with my wife, and I went to the coach and I asked like, what do I do about this? And he's like, his response to my question was, happy wife, happy life. That's it. And I'm like, there's no shot. This guy just said this to you, and this is all that there is there. It's like, no, there's a billion times more things to unpack there. I mean, why do you guys feel disconnected? Do you even have a foundational basis for your relationship? Do you have shared values? Is somebody putting on kind of a mask and not being fully authentic? Is your intimate life good? I mean, there's so many things to address here. And so to answer your question in the general sense, I'm much more broad, but also not broad in the sense of, okay, I can only touch on the surface level of all these broad topics. There's a lot of topics that are diverse and we go really deep into every single one of them.
Yeah, so it sounds like, you essentially brought up these points of either, what is the core or the philosophy around why you're doing this or something along those lines. So it sounds like you really try and dive deep into what drives you to do X, Y, and Z, feel X, Y, and Z, instead of just problem solving X, Y, and Z. Is that about right?
Yeah, I mean, because it's interesting because I'll give you an example. We have a very big gym culture nowadays, which is very good. More and more people are getting in the gym. That's awesome. Focusing on your physical health. Problem is, now there's the gym rat culture, which is I'm going to spend 3-4 hours in the gym because I'm angry, because I'm sad, because I can't get any women in my life, because I'm unsatisfied and I'm lonely. And that's your coping mechanism when you are going in thinking it's going to solve your problem. So anyway, you wake up angry. You go to work angry, you go to school angry, you come home, then you go to the gym, you express your anger. So then when you're in bed at night, you're like a little bit less angry. So you're like, I'm working on myself. You're not working on yourself because you wake up tomorrow and feel the exact same level of anger you felt the day before when you woke up. And so the problem is we're not addressing the actual root of, wait, why am I even angry in the first place? Why am I so lonely? Why am I so disconnected from myself? Why do no women like me? Why can't I talk to people? Why am I socially anxious? We don't ask ourselves these questions because what it would require is to look at yourself in the mirror and say, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe there's something I could do better. And especially with a lot of the men that I work with, we have big egos as men. We like to be very masculine and like pretend like we know everything. So in order to work on these things, you have to drop that a little bit and to look at yourself and say, like, I could do something better. But it feels pretty bad to do that if you've been living your entire life and you've never done that for yourself. Because most men are walking around the world like they know everything. There's only thing that I'm certain of for myself is that I don't really know anything. Everything's up in the air. We have all these research studies and everything backing up in science, which is awesome and incredibly helpful. But at the end of the day, these things are always shifting. I mean, at one point, science said that the earth was flat. And now science says that it's not. So it's like everything's always changing and evolving. And the research study that proved this to be true 100,000 years ago, probably not that long ago, we were doing these research studies as in depth as we do now. But let's say 100 years ago, we thought this was true. And now we know that's complete BS. So it's like, wait, there's truth, of course, to all of these things that we're discovering, or at least we think they are. But we always need to innovate. We always need to look forward. We always need to look at the new things to incorporate. So my whole point with all of that is we need to address the deeper parts of these things, because that guy who's a gym rat, I mean, he's going to look really good. And see, that's the problem men often have, is they think once I get in shape, like I'll start to get women. I actually had someone I knew in high school specifically. He was incredibly skinny and he got very big. He wasn't taking any like crazy he wasn't taking any drugs or anything. He was just taking certain supplements and, kind of aid in this process. And he got ripped. Looks absolutely exceptional. Still couldn't get with any girls. Still couldn't get into a relationship. And the reason for that is because we think because we develop confidence in one area of life, it translates to the other ones. Oftentimes it doesn't. Also, you have to ask yourself, am I actually confident in the way that I look, or is it never good enough? And is me looking good just a coping mechanism for me trying to get this outcome, when they're not always correlated? And of course, in part they are, because obviously if you have a horrible looking body, I mean, people probably aren't going to be attracted to you, but it's only one step of the equation. And then of course we throw our hands up and say, oh my God, I worked so hard in the gym for 2 years and I still can't like interact with girls and have conversations with them and get them to like me. It's like, what's the problem here? You're the problem. And it's not to shame you for it, but it is to acknowledge, like, hey, there's a lot of things here that are more deep rooted that you haven't addressed about yourself, and they're all manifesting themselves in your social interactions with people, and it's causing them to not be attracted to you. And then you have to ask yourself, am I even attracted to myself? That's a really good question to ask yourself. If your dating experience isn't good, would I date me? We've probably all heard that before, but how often do we actually ask ourselves the question? And actually, because this is a concept from Jordan Peterson, so I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with, which I love, which is, you got to ask yourself these deep questions, but that's only the first step. The second part is like actually wanting to know the answer, because sometimes the answer is very deep, very dark, very reflective in an area and an aspect of yourself and your soul that you haven't desired to address and you refuse to address. And so the reflection comes up within, and you feel horrible about yourself because you're finally addressing this part of yourself that you've been neglecting for 15 years. And you're like, oh no, I don't want to deal with that. But too bad now, because you're aware of it now. So now that's something I've also been diving into a lot recently, which is there's a level of ignorance we have when our lives are in the gutter, where it's like life isn't good. So it's like we can acknowledge our life isn't good, but if we don't know the core reason as to why it's not good, it's not that bad. If you then become aware of the reason as to why your life is that bad, and the fact of the matter that you have some part to play in it, and you're not doing anything to fix it, and then you choose to not continue, and you choose to not embark on the journey of self-development to start to address those things about yourself, it's even worse, because now you're aware of what you're doing to make your life horrible, or at least not make it better. And now you're just stuck in this mental loop, mental cycle. So I help my clients really bridge the gap between that and start to find the mechanisms to start to address these things and be more comfortable asking yourself these deep questions. Because if you've been neglecting yourself for a long time, it's really difficult to start.
Does anyone else have that one tool that makes building a website a breeze? In an era driven by digital change, WebHash is the indispensable tool that holds the key to effortless website creation. Create websites that endure, defy censorship, and bypass any single point of failure. As cutting-edge technology redefines reality, seize the power to build beyond limits. Join the Web3 revolution now and forge paths others can only dream of. Visit our site today and build your legacy. Building my own space on the web was always a grind until I hit up WebHash. Their no-code builder is my ace. It's swift and solid. It's like rocking a digital fortress that's immune to the typical shutdowns. Level up your web presence without stress. Ready to stake your claim in the digital realm? Dive into WebHash today, connect your Web3 wallet, and get started. They have multiple subscription plans, from a free version to a lifetime subscription. Check them out today at webhash.com. Most importantly, they sponsor the One Moment podcast, helping to raise awareness to critical topics in the healthcare field. Our official website was built using the WebHash platform. Throughout the projects that the One Moment movement built on WebHash, they stood behind and supported it all the way. Sign up and start building your website today. Don't forget to visit onemoment.chain.box and subscribe to our social media channels.
Yeah, so, when you're talking about, do you like yourself? Are you attracted to yourself? What I instantly came to mind was, that self-talk that you kind of give yourself? Like, would you say that to your best friend and like mean it? That kind of thing. Like, would you say that to your partner and mean it? You know, like I think the age-old adage is we are our own worst critic. And I think that's a lot of what you were just kind of talking about. And also bridging that gap between, yes, I've worked on the gym for so many years, you know, but I still haven't addressed the issue of, you know, my communication skills or even uh, my attitude a lot of times, my ego. So I thought that was very, very cool. I do have a question to ask regarding coaching, because I'm not nearly as experienced in as I probably should be. But do you ever refer out to like a licensed counselor, psychiatrist, anything like that? Is there any type of cases that come in and you're just like, I would love to help you and I will help you, but like you may want to seek like, you know, some outside help with as well?
That's a good question. I wouldn't say I do that very often. Most of the things that we address are pretty we're pretty capable of doing in our setting. But I will also say that there are plenty of people who I work with that have a psychiatrist as well. And maybe they're diagnosed with depression or something, they're on medication, they're using my coaching as an addition to everything they're already doing. So for the people who are like really struggling, like they're diagnosed with something, like they often have somebody that they're already working with in the medical field, and they kind of use me as an extra boost, you could say, and kind of bringing both of those together. Because there's I think there's many different, of course, as you guys know, and you're in the field, there's so many different types of psychologists, there's so many different methods of going about solving people's problems and addressing things and going about these experiences people have. And there's plenty of different experiences I get. Some people use what I do as a combination with what they do with a psychologist or a licensed medical professional.
As
And some
another level
people,
of support.
yeah, and also some people have came in, and this is no diss on the psychological community, of course, because I have a massive amount of respect for it. But I've had people come in, and they're like, I've been with my psychologist or psychiatrist for 5 years, and 2 weeks in this group has allowed me to make more progress than I've been there in the entire time. They're like, I go into therapy every week. They ask me how my day's going, and we're not really addressing anything here, and it's just kind of like hey, take this medical dose and take this drug, and it's like, okay, come back to me, see how you feel in 2 weeks, and I'm like, I don't know if that's how this should really be going about. We might want to address something a little bit deeper here. So in that case, I try my best to help people do that. But of course, there's some absolutely exceptional psychologists and psychiatrists out there who really get to the roots of everything. And so, yeah, some people use it in combination. Some people use it as a substitute. Some people say, I hate therapy, or I don't want to go back, or whatever the case is, and they use it instead. But I have no quarrels or anything against psychologists or anything themselves. I have plenty of friends that are in the field. So yeah, I don't often refer people to like someone specifically. But like I was mentioning earlier, like a lot of the people that I've interviewed are psychologists and people. So I've taken a lot of their perspectives and their modalities and the way they do things and kind of incorporated as much as I could into my own experience, and then having it in conversation with my clients as well.
Okay. So, all right, kind of taking us a step back further from something you discussed earlier, you oftentimes find resistance in people essentially questioning your credibility. And I know you said that there's like certifications and things out there. Like, how exactly do you address that?
That's a good question. So 95 to 99% of the people I work with don't ever ask me. And what I realized is that people care more about the results that they get in their life rather than certification. Even though on the surface level, people say, I want someone to have the certification. That being said, I think certifications are very credible, but what I've really realized for myself, and a question I've asked myself very deeply, is what really makes an expert? Does it make someone who went to school for 9 years? Or could someone who didn't go to school for 9 years in that specific field still be an expert? A lot of people, especially the older generation, would say, if you don't have a degree, I won't talk to you, so on and so forth. That's fine. But the thing is, like, my clients that are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, like, none of them have really asked me. They don't care. And because I think they see the work that we're doing, they see I like to, a lot of the content that I do online, and it's helpful. So it's like, if it's helpful, I mean, what does it matter if you have a degree in it? And so, yeah, oftentimes that criticism comes from people that aren't interested in what I do, and they're attacking me more than they are asking a genuine question of like, hey, what's your credibility? And it's more of like, oh, what's your credibility? And they have this very closed mindset. And I get it, because I mean, life coaching is like this new thing, and online businesses and so on and so forth. You're not a licensed professional. I need someone to be a licensed psychologist. I get it. But I do think it's quite limiting to believe that we need to go to school in order to, because here's the thing. I mean, at least for my experience, I didn't really learn anything when I was in school. And when I say that, I don't want to discredit the entire institution itself, but things I think at the university level are becoming a little bit more about ideologies and political beliefs and about things of that nature, rather than what is the objective potential truth, what that's going to help people, or the information itself. And of course, many of my friends, since they're still the same age as me and they're still in university, it's like, I have to write this psychological essay in the realms, or like, and do it from like a liberal perspective. And it's like, hey, I don't want to get political here, but it's like, why are we telling people that they need to do it in a certain perspective, especially one that could go against their personal beliefs, and also one that isn't of objective truth? I mean, everyone questions, of course, if objective truth exists. I think that's a valid criticism and thing to think about. But why are we like trying to just morph people's belief systems to be something, rather than, hey, how are we genuinely going to help ourselves and other people? And how oftentimes these concepts that we're putting into the education system aren't really relevant. And so, I just I went into one of my intro to psychology classes in university, and most of the class, like a big chunk of the class, was about things that weren't really explaining anything. I just didn't really understand why things were being at the forefront of psychology, also with no explanation. And so if like I asked, and also here's the thing, if like you ask a question about these things in university, you're shamed for it. And I've heard plenty of horror stories from people that I actually know. It's like someone asks a question about something at the university level about this psychological concept or this, and it's like, you can't question things. So that's my biggest problem with school, is that you can't question things. Now at the university level, if you have good professors and they actually care about what they do and connect to it, then they encourage that, of course. And then there's plenty of people who have been there for 10 years, like, I don't really care anymore. I'm just here to make money and to educate people. I'm just taking my belief systems and throwing them onto people. So anyway, not to go on a rant with it, I found for myself, I wasn't learning anything in school. And I learned most of my research experimentation from my own personal life. And I think both of those like things are incredibly exceptional. And I think you could be very much an expert for going to school for 9 years. But I'll use my friend as an example. He is actually doing some research lab stuff at the university he's going to, so I think that's awesome. And I think it's very insightful, and I think he can make a lot of progress with that and discover something new about life and really be innovational in the field. But he's worked with 0 clients, and he just sits and studies books all day. So he looks at what I do and says, "Oh, Brad, like, are you really credible? Like, you know what you're doing? You haven't gone to school for this long." And it's like, well, I'm in the weeds, and I have all these clients that are coming to me, and I see the changes that they're making in their life. So who's to say I'm not an expert? And he is, because he's reading the books more than I am. And so that being said, I don't think it's one or the other. I really don't think it's that. It's whatever works for you. I just think the concept of what makes an expert needs to be a lot more expansive, because there's plenty of people who have a degree of 10 years and they're really goofy. Like they're not intelligent individuals. And that's not to say everyone who goes to school for 10 years isn't that intelligent. It's not that. But like, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. You have a piece of paper and you listen to do what you were told 24/7, and now you've lived because what school does is you have to do what you're told, at least when you're younger, and you often don't question it. And you go throughout that, you're like psychologically crumbling because you don't know how to stand on your own 2 feet. And then you could even go to school for another 10 years and then come out and it's like, where are the foundations for my life? And it's also interesting because like a lot of the psychologists and therapists, like they need a therapist too, right? And so a bunch of them have them. And I think that's good because I think we all need that. I mean, and that's bridging the gap between that conversation. I have 3 coaches myself. Like, I'm not perfect. I'm always improving for myself. And here's another thing. Some people would look at a life coach like me, or some people look at a therapist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist and think that if they have a coach or if they have a therapist themselves, or if they have somebody that they're working with to help them become more in tune with themselves and more successful in life in general, then that means they're not qualified because, why would they be seeking advice from someone else if they're the expert? And it's like, Have you ever questioned the fact that no matter who you are as a human being, you can never know every piece of information that's in the universe? And it doesn't matter if you went to school for the next 50 years, you still wouldn't know anything. And so it's like, not anything, like, of course you know things, but there's so many concepts that you'll never know about. And so to seek help and to seek improvement, support from other people, no matter how much of an expert you are, I think is always essential. And that's what I realized for myself. Because before I hired my first coach and before I started coaching, I had a negative association to it because I hated therapy. I went to my parents made me go to therapy. I don't want to make it like they forced me, but when I was younger and diagnosed with depression, I went to therapy. And
Sure.
I refused to talk to the therapist. I never felt like any of them actually cared. And so I had this negative association to it anyway. So I was like, I'm not going to hire a coach myself. I don't like any of this stuff. And then I realized that every single coach that I've worked with and every single coach that I see that I'm connected to, no matter how much money they're making, no matter if they're a millionaire, they have mentors and coaches too. And so it's like, I think it's a very limiting belief for us to say, oh, you're just not an expert because you didn't go to school or because you didn't do this. And it's like, for example, in another business endeavor that I'm in with my brother, our mentors are millionaires and they're 20 and 21 and they dropped out of high school. So it's like, to say that you can't be where you want to be if you don't go to school, for example, is a very limiting belief that's not constructive at all. And I hear many people stuck in this. It's like, because this is what I heard for my entire life. I'll give you an example. And this
You
is
want
nothing.
a good job, go to school.
Exactly. It was nothing against my high school counselor, but
I already knew what you were going to say.
I went to her and I was like, I'm questioning my life. I don't feel like I want to go to school. Like, what are my other options? She's like, have you thought about trade school? I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do it. And she's like, all right, you're going to be homeless then. And I'm like, what? Yeah. And so anyway, it's been very beautiful to drop out of school and not be homeless. So that's been a cool experience for me.
Well, you mentioned a lot, man, and I'm sitting over here. You are just killing me over here, okay? And oh my God, listen. The first thing that I was thinking about, right? You mentioned authenticity. I'm a huge existentialist person. I love Viktor Frankl. My clinical practice is out of his, or is out of the existentialism realm, right? One of the things that I don't know if you've realized that you've been hitting on this the whole episode so far. Maybe you have. You're very intelligent. I think you'll be an amazing therapist too. I'm just saying. But, and I'm sure I'm going to mess his name up. All right. Martin Heidegger, one of his famous quotes in 1927, right? Everyone is the other and no one is himself. And a lot of what you've been talking about and Josh has been talking about too, we're cultured to think, okay, well, if the world is doing this, therefore it's right? It's groupthink. Well, the reality is that authenticity, right? You said a lot about different institutions, organizations, different world authorities, right? Having to push these ideologies, these things, and if you speak out, then you're wrong, you're in the bad, you're this, you're that. And I have to agree with you on everything that you've said from my experience, anyways, and from what I believe. And my question is, when are we going to get back as an individual person, right? Or even if you're in a collectivistic society, as a culture, as a family unit, right? When are we going to get back to authenticity, right? Where I'm able to be who I am without some other person telling me I have to be this way, without somebody telling me, oh, well, if you don't practice like this, then you're wrong. If you don't have this certification, this credential, then you're doing things wrong. Yes, I get the idea of compliance. I get the idea of, regulatory compliance, licensing, credentialing compliance, all of these ideas, right? I get it, 100%. I work in it. Absolutely. I've written policies and procedures. I'm on the a policy and a policy committee board here in North Carolina. Absolutely, I get it. I agree with policies. I agree with compliance. But, right, you knew there was a but. Everybody knew there was a but. I was at NatCon 25 in Philly about 2 or 3 weeks ago, about 3 or 4 weeks ago now. one of the biggest running themes throughout the whole conference was, when are we going to get back to a system of people? And so all of this stuff that you're sharing, right, that you've shared, that Josh has been talking about, both of those ideas, right, are running through the forefront of my brain. A system of people, right, working in a system of people, right, and also living in authenticity. Because I can't be who I am if I got some school or some career or some job or some other person telling me, you have to do this. For 22 years, I lived life for other people, believing, oh, if I do this, then this person is going to be happy, or my life is going to be better, or this is going to happen, that's going to happen. For 22 years, hell, I was freaking miserable, right? But it was when I started living for myself and actually started believing my own ideologies, my own belief system, my own thought processes, was I able to experience a sense of freedom, because I didn't have anybody pointing fingers and saying, hey, you need to do this, you should believe this, you should think this, you should do this, you should say this, blase, blase, blase. So everything that you are saying, clinically, I am there. And I do help patients. Actually, unlike a lot of therapists and a lot of folks, there's so many people in the healthcare field now that it's all about, oh, well, take this medication, it'll work. Oh, take this medication, it'll. Since when has that worked in the last 50 years? Has our mental health gotten significantly worse? Right? Yeah. Oh, and we've increased medication. Oh, let's take this depression, let's take this anxiety, let's take this script, let's take this, push this out. The insurance is going to deny it. Well, let's challenge the insurance decision, right? Let's appeal it. We've been doing all of these things, and I think clinically and therapeutically, professionally wrong. I think it's time to get back to a system of people where we actually focus on people and not of compliance. Because then we focus on authenticity. We focus on people changing. So absolutely, I agree with you. So I guess my question is what is what did that struggle look like for you early on when you were trying to push into this idea of authenticity, right? But not of, of yourself, but not of authenticity based on other people's ideologies, other people's thinking, other people's belief systems. I know for me, man, I've been accused of going to hell. I'm a worthless person. I'm a this person. I'm a that person. Like, I've been accused of so many things, and I've had people like, oh my God, you're just not the same person like you used to be. Yeah, I know, because times have changed, right? I had a rough transition. So that's my question. What did that look like when you started breaking free from those ideologies and working into your own authenticity? Does that make sense?
In the heart of the city, a vision was born, not just a piece of clothing, but a movement. Vital Apparel reflects not just the raw edge of the streets, but the spirit of innovation to bring about change in mental health worldwide. It's more than a style, it's a statement, a blend of comfort with an attitude made for those who refuse to be average. Embrace the culture, ignite your passion, and wear the revolution. Discover your new favorite piece today and be part of something larger than life. Visit our link now at vtlapparel.com to grab your next outfit. Use promo code ONEMOMENT to get 15% off your order. Why support us? The founders of Vital Apparel, Hung Dao and Alex Kozub, sought out to raise awareness, seeking to change the stigma around mental health. 5% of their profits are donated to Brain Research Foundation, furthering the research in mental health. Vital Apparel sponsors the One Moment podcast. We partnered with one another so that together we can make a global impact on mental health, substance use, and suicide, saving lives one moment at a time around the world. Help us break the stigma. Visit onemoment.chain.box to learn more about our podcast and to connect with us on social media. Don't forget to subscribe to our channels to stay up to date on our episodes. Subscribe now. Some photos in this ad were created by Grok.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I love everything you said, and to try and touch on that just for a second before I even address the question. I feel like we live in a very individualistic culture, especially in the United States. But but we'll say we're in communities when we're not. I mean, we can see the family structure falling apart. Most people get divorced. Most people's kids are left with one parent or none. And of course, that destroys the system of values. It destroys not the potential for you living a good life, but it severely hinders you in many cases. And then you kind of have to find, like, I have one client in particular, and like he's grew up without a father, and he's like, I had to be my own father figure. I had to figure it out all myself. And it's like, that's left a lot of trauma and a lot of stuff for me to deal with that I didn't want to deal with, but of course I have to because I'm here now. So yeah, I think that authentic piece, getting back to how it started for me, is I took it to the very extreme. I took it to the I don't care about what anybody thinks, and I actually became very egotistical about it. I started to, at the beginning of my self-development journey, got so into like, this is making my life so good, and I started to look down on everyone else because I'm like, I see what you guys are doing, I see how you're all unconscious, you're all unaware, and I started to shame people for it. It's like, oh, like you're kind of dumb or you're stupid for not being. And so here's what was really interesting is I was doing exactly what they were doing to me without even realizing it, right? Just in a different field. And so anyway, that happened for a little while. And then I realized what I was doing, and then I became aware of it. And then I started to transcend into a more positive, accepting mode of being and understanding that nobody chose the way they view the world. Nobody chose how they feel. It's our programming, it's our conditioning running itself. And then, of course, you have the awareness to be able to potentially change that. But most people aren't aware of that, so they didn't change it. But yeah, I then got to the point where I started to make that transition. But despite me making that transition and nowadays being very open and accepting of people who have different beliefs and having an open dialogue and discussion with them, I'm still met with rejection all the time. I mean, it doesn't matter. And that's what I realized very quickly, is that it doesn't matter what you do, what you care about, what you don't care about, what belief you have, what belief you don't have. People are always going to hate you no matter who you are. And there's especially going to be more hate thrown at you when you're authentic, because people are very envious of that, because that's what everybody wants. Every single human being wants to be authentic. And so because everyone wants to be authentic, but nobody seems to have the capacity to start to take the steps to start to do it for themselves, they'll look at other people who are doing a little bit better than them. And instead of asking them questions and, hey, how did you start to do this? How did you become, a little bit happier? How did you work on this part of yourself? It's, oh, I can't believe he's really big. If you look at some guy in the gym, oh, he must be on steroids. Oh, this guy makes a lot of money. Oh, he must be scamming people. It's all of these very judgmental, hypercritical, instantaneous thoughts that are really just reflections of ourselves. And so we also don't understand how these constantly shape and create the reality around us. Like, if you have a belief system like that, if you think that in order to make the money that you want to make in your life, you have to scam people, you're never going to make any money you want, because you're a moral person, right? And you're going to hide behind that. It's like, I'm a moral person, so that means I can't make a lot of money. I have to live with barely anything and hard to get by, and anything that I have, I'm going to throw to charity, because it's like, I'm a good person. And it's like, cool, but you're simply neglecting yourself. And if you opened your perspective a little bit and realize you can make a little bit more money doing something that you actually enjoy doing, you could even give further back to the charity that you're doing and hiding behind. And you're only giving them $100 a month when you could be giving them $5,000 a month. But no, you would have to scam people in order to make that kind of money. And so it's yeah, for me, it was tough. And nowadays, especially in my personal life, it's actually over the last week or two, I was sitting down having a conversation with my girlfriend about it. It's like, I try to have these deep conversations with people that I used to be connected to, but they're stuck. They're stuck in I still just want to be unconscious. I don't want to question things. I want to just sit around and smoke weed. It's like, it's just, that's their life. It's like, let me go to work. Let me go to my internship. Let me study in school. Let me go home and enjoy myself and have fun. When really I'm just distracting myself from the horrible inner thoughts that I have about myself. And so, of course, everybody, the second you challenge them on it, fights back on it. And all my friends who would say to me, all my friends that say to me, I just enjoy doing it. It helps me relax, so on and so forth. What it really is like, oh, you're going to bed at 5 a.m. every single day, and you just can't be in tune with yourself, and you're just using this to escape. But you can't accept that about yourself, because of course there would need to be reflection there. And so anyway, the whole totality of all of this, I realized, is we have to get back to the authenticity, like you're saying. And I think in order to do that, we have to ask ourselves deep questions, and we have to deeply challenge ourselves, and also understand that the belief systems that we have aren't serving us anymore, and they need to be shifted. And what you were saying about people are looking at you and they're like, oh, you changed. It's like, yeah, I didn't stay the same person as I was 5 years ago, because then I would be losing in life if I'm just the same person. Like, we're meant to grow and be dynamic as human beings. I think it's more reflective of the fact that you're saying that to me means you haven't done anything over the last 5 years. And again, it's not to shame these people for it, but it's like, can we bring our awareness to the fact of we're just projecting onto people all the time, and 100% of the time, it makes our life worse. I mean, anytime you criticize anyone, do you feel better after? You have the illusion of feeling better after because you're talking bad about these people, and someone else gives you the validation that you're looking for because you're very isolated and lonely in your belief system. So when you go to someone and say, oh, I don't like this person, they're like, oh yeah, I don't like them either. Like, oh my God, I now feel comfortable. I feel like I'm accepted because you've never been accepted before. Let's address that part, that you've never been accepted and you'll do anything to be accepted. And that means compromising who you are. It means not adopting any values for yourself. It means going along with the conversation and telling people that you agree with them when you completely disagree. And it's like, what this does for your life is it allows you, because here's the thing, people will of course do this, so it's like, I want to start to meet more people and I want to get more connections, and that's how I'm going to do it, is I just have to do that. And so that's exactly what gets you exactly what you don't want, and allows you to attract all the people that are not right for you, and you have zero long-term relationships. They all end. And you're like, oh no, I love them so much and things were so great and it just ended so quickly. Things that were that great don't end that quickly. And so it was just an illusion. It really wasn't that way. And so that's a lot of the things I like to talk about with the people that I work with. And I had a client come to me. He's like, I don't want any long-term relationship. I just want to hook up with people. I'm like, that's not what you want. That is not what you want. And again, I don't just say that's not what you want, dismiss it, but it's like, hey, that's not what you want, and this is why. Let's dive into it and see what's blocking you from desiring that. And so a lot of the times in that particular case, it's like, hey, I don't believe I'm worthy of and deserving of love, and I feel like I can't even give it to myself, and I never have received it from my parents. And so anybody that I'm in a relationship with, it's like the love that I receive is actually me being treated like crap and me not being treated well and me thinking that that's just normal. And so there's plenty of people I've talked to, and it's which like I'm still baffled in which like it's like, oh yeah, this thing happened, like this is what was going on in my childhood and blah blah blah, and they say it like it's nothing. It's like that's left like this incredibly like horrid mark on your soul. That's like, oh yeah, no, that's just how it was. What do you mean that's just how it was? And so it's just I think the sooner, and look, I honestly, I don't have hope for like the entirety of our society. I think because of the systems in place and because of the mechanisms, I think the corporations and the government is making too much money to be able to change these things, or even have a slight desire to change them, because we profit off of pain. Like that's what most corporations are. It's like, and it's not like, hey, you have a problem, let me solve it. You have a problem, let me give you the illusion of solving it, and now you're stuck with me forever. And so it's like kind of that similar conversation of like, hey, if you're just having pills being thrown down your throat because you have depression and we're not addressing anything deeper, you're going to be taking pills for the rest of your life. So that means that certain people are making money, and it means your life isn't good. But it's like, why would we sacrifice making money for people to feel happy? Because that would mean the entire system itself would collapse, because everything in society is built on pain and fear. I need to drive a nice car because then women will finally be attracted to me, or I'll finally feel like I'm good enough. These are all deep-rooted insecurities that we refuse to accept that we even have. And it's not until we start to accept that we have them that we can start to address them and integrate them and even have open conversations about them like we're having now, and start to bridge the gap and have conversations like this in your friendships and your romantic relationships, not just in context on a podcast, or not just in context of your guys' office and your practices, or in my practice. It's like, can we just have these discussions more and more often with everyday life? Well, that would encourage people to reflect, but we don't want to do that, so that would be difficult. And so, I mean, I've really integrated all of these things and continuing to integrate them into my life. And so for most of my romantic relationships, I refused to open up to the women I was with because I had this belief from society and from my upbringing, which is, in order to be a man, you have to be stoic all the time, you can't show your emotions, so on and so forth. So I had a negative association to the emotional experiences, which is really a negative association to myself, because that's me. The emotional experiences are part of my experience. I'm just neglecting me. And so anyway, I couldn't cry for my entire life. When I was depressed, I did. And then after that, it's like, oh, I'm just a man now. And so over the last 6 to 8 months, it's been something I've been integrating a lot more. And I literally talk. My biggest fear was the fear of abandonment, of like the people in my life leaving me, because that's what I experienced when I was younger. And so that manifested itself in all my romantic relationships. And now, I just, after my last relationship ended, I made a commitment. So I'm going to be radically authentic, and I'm not going to compromise on that. And I do that in my current relationship, and this is the most beautiful relationship I've ever experienced in my entire life. It's with the person that fulfills me the most, and that's the most intelligent woman I've ever met. And I talk about my insecurities with her. Now, most men on the surface level, especially in this online space, for any sort of life coach or an online content creator to say, talk about your insecurities with your woman, that's the last thing you ever want to do, because the second you do that, she'll leave you. Now, here's the problem. The reason the women leave you is because they don't actually care about you. And that's just you presenting that part of you to them is revealing that. And so, of course, a lot of us have these, what one of my coaches like to call is splits. So it's essentially, one part of your mind is here, another part of you is there, and like the belief systems clash. It's like I think a part of like the cognitive dissonance kind of type of conversation. And so a lot of women, because of the way that they're brought up in society, have an association that if a man doesn't express or if a man expresses his emotions, it means he's like a little bit less of a man. But it's interesting because the same women that leave men for expressing their emotions are the same women that say, I want a guy to be open and vulnerable and cry in front of me. And the second he does it, you're instantly unattracted to him and you leave. And so that being said, I'm not advocating for men to be super vulnerable and be a crybaby and be a puppy and like ask for forgiveness from your girlfriend and to, oh my God, babe, I'm going with this. It's not like that. Like the frame is important, but it's like, hey, babe, like this is what I'm going through right now. I'm feeling kind of depressed, or I'm feeling angry, or I've had a rough day at work. Just wanted to let you know in case I'm a little bit off, blah, blah, blah. And this communication piece is completely missing. Everybody, I tell when new people join my coaching, on the first call I have with them, I give them some examples of some of the topics that we run through. And one of them I talk about is like, we learn about how to communicate in our relationships. And I specifically say, and I preface it with, I know for our entire lives, we've all been told communication is key in our relationships. Nobody has ever taught us how to do it. Or if they have, it's a one size fits all mechanism, which isn't true. Like the way you communicate with someone depends on your individuality, your uniqueness, your authenticity, who you are. And we can't just continue to throw these things in a box. So, I mean, yeah, I kind of got into a bunch of different realms there. But yeah, for myself, I feel like, that piece of starting to be accepted by people is still not there. I have people that accept me. My relationship partner accepts me, and my brother does because he's in business with me, and my parents accept me. But a lot of the people who are in my personal life, they don't. And that's why I spend maybe once a month with them instead of every single weekend like I used to. And I'm even in the point of questioning, do I even spend any time with these people? So it's like that's what's really is like, when you start to become authentic, you lose a lot of people. And it's a part of the process because a lot of people, when you're leveling up, they refuse to.
No, you are right. And I want Trevor to jump in, but I want to follow up with this, right? I think communication is a burnt out street too, right? Myself, and when I actually teach communication, I teach it from a three-way street, right? It goes from me to you, right? From you to me. All right. Then I have to have communication with myself, which is the most important. Because if I don't have that communication with myself, I can't communicate with you at all. And I think there needs to be more emphasis on communication, and it's not the same old ideas that we've always been taught. So I definitely agree with you that you are right on that one, 100%. Definitely. So,
feeling lost or alone, struggling with unbearable trauma or addiction. Every day feels heavier than the day before. The weight of unaddressed emotions and problems can leave you paralyzed. On the One Moment podcast, we are aligned with the vision and mission of The Place to Heal. Founded in Sanford, North Carolina, The Place to Heal is a growing multi-specialty mental health and substance use practice dedicated to facilitating healing and personal development. Our team of compassionate clinicians are committed to providing evidence-based therapeutic interventions tailored to each individual's unique journey. We are passionate about empowering our clients to overcome challenges and achieve emotional wellness. The Place to Heal hosts and sponsors the One Moment podcast. Visit onemoment.chain.box to learn more about our podcast and to be connected to The Place to Heal. Follow us on social media for more content.
Brad, to have you on our podcast and allowing me once again with One Moment podcast, just giving me like my ultimate therapy session everything that Brad that you said is like, okay, imagine if you are my age, 54, and everything that you've been expounding on so far since I got in about a half an hour, 40 minutes ago, it's like it was custom designed for the description of my entire life, of my existence, for non-acceptance of me being valid to be me. So here I am, 54 years old, and I'm discovering the real me that I was created to be in the first place, but nobody ever accepted that. It didn't matter what group I was in, whether it was elementary school or middle school or high school or out in the working field, because I started working full-time very early in age. Like I was full-time at 9 years old, emancipated at 15. I've been on my own through the world and gained this experience, even to sometimes a negative sense and sometimes to a positive sense, to where in the correctional field, I still couldn't even be accepted by them because I didn't see or act like they did. So, for what you described to me, part of it was the fact that society has this normal uh, ideation embedded in itself that they don't want to let go of. And unless you're applying yourself to be compliant to what they expect, you don't even get to be the real you that's you. And so now, my friend Kevin, I'm so grateful for you to have taken the one moment to give me the opportunity to do this, because I don't believe things happen by accident. My higher power is in control of everything, and I had to fully let that go. And so it's this kind of stuff in the spiritual sense, but that's been the only foundation that I've been able to remain on with strength and hope and character and integrity, and not having to evolve into like a $300,000 education that's going to take me 14 or 18 years to get to the point where I want to be. But life experience itself, I'm so grateful for it. And this moment in this podcast, Brad, what an awesome endeavor that you've taken upon yourself. We're grateful that you're here. I'm grateful for what you're experiencing, in the sense that you're getting to that next level that you want to be at. Which even you described your personal relationships a little bit, and I'm like, wow, this is just such an amazing thing that's happening. One of the things that I thought quick about what you're doing is there's with the modern self-care techniques. So could you kind of expound a little bit on what issues that you're particularly having trouble with? Is it because of that it's the people that you need to address, or is it because of the modalities that you need to apply being used to help them, or what are some, just in general, some of the issues that you're going through that you're seeing brought to a focus in this
Oh, wait, so you're saying from the things I'm experiencing in my personal relationships or with my clients?
No, with your clients,
Oh,
with
with my
this,
clients. Okay.
what you do
Ooh.
with the mental health thing.
Yeah, well, everybody's lost. Nobody knows what they want. Everyone's working jobs they hate. Nobody's making the money that they want. Everyone's relationships suck. I don't want to make all these bold, broad claims, but it's like these are like general things. So, yeah, a lot of it, I think a lot of the big, and I think the beautiful thing, I mean, you touched on a lot of beautiful things, and one of those components of kind of like, it's like you were like, oh, I'm getting into a little of the spiritual side. I think life is spiritual, whether we accept it or not. And when I say that, I don't mean pushing a certain religion or this is true or this isn't. I mean, let's just have the conversation around energy without even having to take it to, like, it's very practical. You walk into a room and you meet somebody, you feel a certain way about them. There's an energy that's being exchanged between you two, whether you want to accept that or not. And so, there's also like there's so many spiritual-ish events that happen in my life because I'm continually open to them, and so I keep receiving. And so one of those was meeting my partner. I went to a coffee shop one random Monday with a few friends because one of them was going into the military. He kind of wanted to say goodbye to everyone. It's like 10 a.m. and I see this girl walk in, and just instantly, like there's something like, of course I found her physically attractive, but it's like there was something else. It wasn't like, oh my God, she's so physically attractive. It was just like something about her. So anyway, she sits down with one of her friends, and like four more of her friends pile in. And then anyway, I was a little anxious, so I was like sitting there for my head for like 20 minutes. I want to go up to her and talk to her, but like, oh, I'm a little anxious. So making all these excuses for myself. Oh, it's a little bit early, so on and so forth. And so Then eventually I was eating some food, so I walked past their table to throw it out, and then I was gonna leave. And on the way back, I'm like, I'm walking past their table. I just have to go up to her. So anyway, I go up to her, introduce myself, told her I thought she was cute, asked her for her number, and then I turned to all of her friends, started to have a conversation. But here's what was really interesting is when she walked in and I noticed her, even when her other friends started piling in, I didn't like look to them and be like, oh, is one of them more attractive? It's like there wasn't even a thought of that. It was just like, I know it's her. There's something about her. Anyway, asked her for a number, and we're now partners. But it's one of those things in which you can't quite explain why things happened the way that they did. We could have, either one of us could have been anywhere else on that day. In fact, she was telling me how she was even questioning going to coffee that day. And so it was all these things, like everything had to line up at that exact moment for us to be there at the same time and to meet each other. And me and her talk about it all the time. We genuinely think our souls are aligned. Like we're just connected on everything. And so I tell her all the time, I'm like, hey, if I walked out that day, I don't think we would have ever met. And that's the beauty of it. That's like the one moment we had to potentially make this happen. She's convinced that if I walked out that day, we would have somehow met at another time because she goes to school not far from me and I have friends there. I tell her, I'm like, no, we wouldn't have met. Like that was the spiritual aspect of it. It had to happen then, and it did because I took action on it. And so anyway, the whole point of that, me saying that, is like, there's so many things and opportunities that are right in front of our faces that we refuse to take because we're a little bit scared, or we're programmed, or we have fear, or I'm not supposed to do that. It's like there's a huge culture online nowadays that is promoting to go up to more people. And there's also an equal culture online that's like, don't go up to women, don't go up to people, they don't want you to talk to them, you're going to be creepy, so on and so forth. It's like, hey, I had the most beautiful relationship of my entire life for going up to this girl. And I mean, it was just the most beautiful experience ever. So it's all of, just to bring up that example, because there's so much potential for our lives. Your next best friend is right in front of you. Your next business connection, your next mentor, your next partner, they're in front of your face, but you choose to let your anxiety get in the way and you go home. And then, so anyway, I did that for a long time. It's like, oh, I'm too anxious to go up to the girl that I find attractive. So then I beat myself up for the rest of the night. And then I go home. And then I started to get to the point where it's like, hey, I don't even need like a date to come out of this, but I just want to show myself that I can do this. And so I started to go up to girls and get their numbers. I wouldn't get any texts back, wasn't getting any dates, no experiences. And so I stopped. Then I got into a relationship. Then that ended. Then I went up. The next girl I went up to, I went on a date with. Beautiful experience. She was like 11 years older than me. Really, she was very spiritual too. So we really connected on that level. And then next girl I went up to is my now partner. And so all of these to say, like, when you notice that there's even a slight potential of something going your way in front of you, like, you have to take it. And also, there's such an expansiveness with that, of we're so limited, and like, oh, and here's what I like to tell my clients all the time: the social constructs of what you're supposed to do and not supposed to do. Everybody secretly deep down wants to break them, but nobody else is going to do it, so you have to do it. Because I have men too that have joined my coaching group, and they're like, I'm sick of having to initiate things and go up to women. I'm like, oh, welcome to life. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. Like, you have to go up to people because other people aren't going to do it. And you're going to be so respected, loved, and cared for doing that and showing people the way to how to do it too. And because you're going to show them the way to live life by you living the life, not by you telling them how you're supposed to live life, but by embodying it. And so, of course, a part of communication is talking. But another level of communication is simply just being, and people recognizing that consciously or unconsciously, and then making certain shifts and associations. And so, yeah, I think everything is deeply spiritual. I think, even if nothing happens for a reason, and the philosophy that I have of everything happening for a reason, even if it isn't true, it serves me, and it served me for my entire life. And everybody else I talk to that has that, it serves them too. The people that say nothing matters, look at their life. Nothing's in order. So that being said, you don't want to be just delusional about these things and say, oh, everything happens for a reason, and then be like, because there's a difference. This is something I've been going over with a few of my clients recently. There's a difference because one of my clients is kind of in this weird relationship situation. Someone else is kind of in another kind of period, kind of, how do I figure this out? And I'm like, there's a difference between patience and waiting. Waiting is, oh, everything happens for a reason. God's just going to help me out, or, this is just going to come my way, and you just sit there inside your house all day. Go to a job you hate, come home. Okay, hopefully it'll change one day. That's waiting. nothing's probably going to happen unless by God's miracle something happens to you and you finally wake up and then you have to do something with your life. And then patience is like, hey, I'm actively working towards the process. I don't see the exact results that I want right now, but I feel a little bit different. I feel a little bit better about myself. And I think that's an indicator that you're moving in the right direction. So much of the time we're like, I need the tangible, physical, practical results in front of me for me to think I'm doing enough. And it's like, what if just the fact that you're taking those steps that you've never taken before is enough in this current moment in time? I think when we start to internalize that a little bit more, you find very quickly your confidence within yourself goes up, and the people you're interacting with like you a lot more. And of course, the people that you're interacting with that, in Kevin's case, in which things they're not growing and you are, they won't like you anymore. But that's okay, because what, I'm gonna sit here and pretend that I'm still that different person to please you? Because here's the thing, it's all an illusion. You're not actually I have to, and this is the other thing, is a lot of guys on their first dates are like, I need to kind of pretend that I like this certain thing because she likes it to get her to sleep with me or to get her to like me. And it's like, you're going about everything the wrong way. It's incredibly manipulative, and some people are doing it unconsciously, subconsciously. And so, and there it's like, we really need to dive into how it's incredibly exceptional to simply that authenticity. And so that's what I made a point for myself, is after my last relationship ended, I'm going to be radically authentic no matter what. So any thought that comes up in my mind, I'm not going to question it. I'm going to say it to the girl I'm interacting with. Anything that I think about doing, I'm going to do it. I think about flirting, I'm going to do it. I think about going after this person, I'm going to do it. And does it go exactly how you want it to go 100% of the time? No. But 100% of the time, it goes exactly the way that you need it to go. And so every single time things don't go exactly how you want them to, you're still learning something. But you have to be open to learning it, because if you're not open to learning it, you'll get rejected by someone, per se. Rejection is only redirection. It's like, you wanted someone to accept you that doesn't even like you. Like, that's like everyone jumping through these hoops. Like, guys have these limiting beliefs that they're not enough unconsciously. And so they're just like, I need to buy the girl flowers. I need to buy her this. I need to do this. I need to get her to like me. It's, if you're in that dynamic, she will never like you. If a girl doesn't like you, the second you start interacting with her, it's game over. Don't ever try anything different. You need to walk out and go find somebody else. And same thing for the girls. Like, you're trying to get a guy to like you. It's like, stop. Why do you? Oh, part of the reason as to why you're getting these people to try and like you is because this is oftentimes goes back to the relationship you have with yourself and the relationship you have potentially with your parents and then your childhood. It's like, if you're a girl, for example, and you find yourself attracted to toxic relationships and guys who treat you badly, it's like, oh, your father neglected you your entire life. So that's what you believe love is. And so there's a huge component of shame in that and a huge component of non-acceptance. And so that what some people actually, one of my clients was actually saying this on one of our group calls the other day, which I thought was pretty profound. And he's like, yeah, some people's perception of love is treated badly because that's their only form of recognition. Like that them feeling like they're treated badly is the only way for them to feel seen, right? It's like, because they've never been treated good. So it's like, that's the only way that someone pays any attention to them. And it's like, some attention is better than no attention, right? Even if I'm being treated badly. Of course, in reality, it's not. You might as well be alone by yourself before you get connected to somebody who's connected to you. But we can't see that unless we take a step back and ask ourselves these deep questions of like, hey, how do I start to internalize these things? How do I start to make my life a better place?
Does anyone else have that one moment where everything feels too overwhelming to handle? Fortunately, there are therapeutic resources where you will learn the skills necessary to bring clarity and focus amidst chaos, making everything feel manageable again. At Mindfully Me Counselling, we guide you towards clarity and calm with personalised therapy. Embrace your self-care today. Visit mindfullymecounselingplc.com to learn more. We sponsor the One Moment podcast. They meet weekly to discuss critical topics related to mental health, raising awareness on various topics such as substance use, suicide, trauma, family, and more. Visit onemoment.chain.box to learn more about the podcast and to be connected to additional resources. Subscribe to their social media channels for more information.
That's amazing that you said it did, because especially on the love aspect of it, because I had to find that the other person in order to discover it myself, that I was not realizing what was really going on. So I'm developing what I was originally created to be, instead of just adapting and being malleable and floating into situations, trying to fit into something normal instead of authentic. So, and me being the elder person people, of us four, amazing concept to realize that this can take a long time before you really realize it. And one of the very first books I ever read was about a little tiger cub and called Leo the Late Bloomer. And so here I am, and I probably read that book when I was 5 or 6 years old, and here I am, 54, and I'm just like Leo the Late Bloomer. I'm here at 54, finally getting into the full maturity of the person that I was creating. So just everything that you've been talking about, I'm glad that you're with us in our podcast. I hope I didn't distract any part of the things going on, but Kevin, that one that I met you and everything that channeled me into today, right now, this one moment. Oh, I love it, man. I'm thankful for Brad to have you in here with us. Where are you located, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I'm in New Jersey in the United States.
Hey, that's where I was born.
Yeah,
I was at Fort Patterson Army Hospital.
very nice. I don't know exact hospital I was born at, unfortunately.
In Trenton,
What'd you say?
New Jersey.
Yeah. That's I usually sometimes I fly out of there when I travel.
Okay, all right. We are just pleased as can be just to have you here with us today, and the work that you do is, man, you're like on an advanced level that I really respect for.
I appreciate that. That means a lot.
Your insights are awesome. For a joy.
Yep.
Well, Brad, we're going to have to kind of start to wrap this up here, but I have one question that I have to ask, and I'll be straight up honest with you and fully transparent. It's like the counselor part of me is like, I have to ask this. Like, when a client comes to you and is having an issue, how do you help them without like imposing your own values, or do you, or what does that look like?
That's a really good question. I like to ask a lot of questions. Like, you're experiencing this. I, of course, have my initial feelings and associations of, okay, this is happening because you're neglecting this, or this is happening. But it's also like, hey, this is happening. You're acknowledging it's happening. Why do you feel like it's happening? Do you feel like you have any part to play in it? How did it come to be? How is it affecting you? And then we'll kind of go into it. So yeah, I mean, especially in the way I coach, I'm not just in the passive, like, look, there's so many beautiful cases where I can simply just ask questions and they find the answer by themselves. And because I think a lot of the answers are already within us, and I think there's probably certain realms of counseling that do that as well. But there are also certain other times that call for me taking, like, hey, this is a value system that I've adopted for myself. This is how it's played out. I've been through this exact thing that you're going through. You might want to try this out. You might want to try to internalize this. And so, yeah, there are certain beliefs and foundational bases that I have for my life and coaching that I wouldn't say I impose on people, but I invite them to ponder about and potentially incorporate in for themselves. And so, yeah, there's definitely a mix between both of those things. And yeah, sometimes it starts out with clarifying a few things by asking the questions and then bringing that in. And then I also like to ask them, like, after if I throw a few things at them, it's like, hey, what do you think about that? And it's like, does this thing align more? Does this resonate? Does this thing not resonate? Does it make sense? Is it something you want to try out for yourself? It's like, these things are important things because my job isn't to tell you what the best version of yourself is. My job is to help you get there, whatever you envision to be for yourself. But if you say, hey, this is what I desire to do for myself, and I can clearly see that there's like some disassociation there, or like it's not actually what you want based on your body language and the way you're explaining it, I'm going to challenge you on it. I'm not letting you sit here and say, oh, this is what I want to do, and I'm just because some people are like that. It's like, client tells you this is what they want, and you're just like, okay, I'm going to help you get there. It's like, no, if there's some incongruency here, I'm not letting you destroy your life. Even if you are going to get a little bit uncomfortable in me, it's like, I'll give you an example. One of my clients who was in his 40s, came to me, and he's been in, I think, over 10 romantic relationships. Every single one of them he's been cheated on. So we dived into it a little bit, and really, this was like, I think we were on there for like the session for like an hour and a half. And so we dived really deep into it. But one of the things I started to come to the conclusion of towards the end is like, hey, okay, someone gets cheated on once or twice. may not be like something that you did and so on and so forth, maybe just a reflection of the person and you happen to be in a toxic relationship and you didn't notice certain things, like fair play. If it happens 10 times, there's a certain level of disassociation and of neglect that you are having in your choice in partners, in your awareness during the relationship, and the way you're presenting yourself, and so many other components. Because you don't just get cheated on 10 times by accident. It simply does not happen. And so there's a part to play, because I think, and especially in that, like, in human cheating and things of that nature in relationships, I mean, it's oftentimes your needs aren't being met, or if you're an incredibly promiscuous person in general, you're going to be having a very difficult time staying loyal in a relationship. Anyway, we kind of dived into that. And so it's like, I wasn't going to sit there and just let him believe that everything about him is perfect and that it was just his selection of partners and just the reflection of them that was causing this. And so anyway, we dove into it. And so and again, prefacing this with saying cheating is never justified, but there are reasons as to why it's potentially initiated, and some of those reasons are potentially rooted in us. But of course, the action of someone doing it is never justified. But anyway, we dived into it, and he was like, yeah, I work all the time, and then like I don't feel like I give the space to them when I'm home, and we don't really have conversations. It's kind of like, oh, so you're neglecting your partner because you're interacting with these things all the time. And so it's like, okay, so that could be a very contributing factor. It's like, hey, I didn't experience any intimacy here, so you're gonna go and find it someone else. It's only human nature. And so now the thing is, value systems. If you have a foundational basis of what you're going to do and not do in morals, it doesn't matter if your needs aren't being met in a relationship, you're going to confront your partner about it. So that being said, it's not completely his fault in any regard. I mean, if you cheat, you chose to further neglect the relationship too. I mean, it's your responsibility. If, hey, our intimate life sucks, or I feel like you're not giving me attention, you tell the person, you're not giving me attention. Let's work on this. And what most people do, of course, is they disguise it as something else, which is a very unconscious manipulative pattern that a lot of us have, which is like, it feels like you don't, for a girl, it might be like manifest itself as she's telling her partner, I feel like you don't love, what the real reason is she feels like he doesn't love her anymore. And then when he forgets to do the dishes that day, she's like, oh, I can't believe you didn't do the dishes. And she's making a whole hour-long rant about it. It's not about the dishes. It's about her not feeling seen. And it's like, but here's the thing. She's doing a horrible job at presenting that to you. Now, I think there's certain levels and skills that we need to develop as individuals to read people, and especially reading our individual partners. So anyway, but these things are both parties, right? And so with my relationship in particular, me and my girlfriend never raise our voices at each other. We never say, I can't believe you feel this way. It's always, hey, you feel this way. It's making us feel uncomfortable. Like, how do we interact with this? And so anyway, there was a few weeks ago in which me and my partner were having a slight disagreement and feeling a little bit uncomfortable with something. And so, she just turned to me and she's like, what do we need to do? Not, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe you're presenting it like this. It's like, hey, what do we have to do right now? If we go about our communication or relationships that way, it's going to be a lot more productive. We're going to be a lot happier. And you're not going to contribute to the destruction of your relationship, which most people are doing. Because every time you confront your partner in that way, your partner now brings a negative association to the confrontation. So now this is where it gets into the place of, okay, I'm addressing to you that you're neglecting me, or I feel that way. You're not changing anything. So over enough time, I'm not even going to feel comfortable and safe to express my discontentment with you. And so then I'm going to go and cheat, because what alternative do I have? Obviously the alternative is to end the relationship, but there's also, like, we can see that there's both parties to play here. It's not just one person. And so my whole point of that is, I like to not impose my beliefs on my clients, but I like to point out the things in which I can clearly see they're struggling with and they refuse to see about themselves. And then of course after, it's like, they're like, yeah, that's something I got to work on, right? And so it brings it to the awareness, and that's really what I try to do for people, is bring your awareness to things that are already in existence. Not trying to throw things into the mix that aren't there. It's like, hey, I noticed this thing's here. Does that resonate? If I poke this, is there a reaction? Oh, there is? Okay, there's something there. Let's dive into it. So yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful process of kind of doing all the diversity of it. And, I've only been coaching for a year and a half. And so the way I coach, and everything's always changing, shifting, and evolving. I'm always looking for different ways and better ways to go about things. So I'm by no means perfect, but yeah, I do my very best at this moment in time to be very understanding of everything everyone's going through, while also doing that. Because when I first started coaching, I didn't really challenge people. It was kind of like, okay, you put this at face value. Okay, like, we'll just interact with that. And then when you push a little bit, and when I say push, I don't mean like, oh, do you really believe that? Oh, it's not like that. It's like, hey, are you sure that that's exactly what you believe, or is that really how you feel about it? And so it's like it gives them an opportunity to invite themselves to like, oh no, it's actually this thing. And so it's a very interesting process to see, and I love to see when all of the guys make progress and that the work we're doing in the group and the things we're addressing are actually making an impact. Because especially the whole core of the conversation of people thinking that I'm not credible and stuff on and so forth. Before I worked with clients and I was just starting this, I had a lot of that fear come up of like, am I really qualified? Can I really do this? And now it's not even a question because I have guys coming to me all the time. I get random messages from my clients. Yesterday's session was great. That was so insightful. It really helped me think about this, and that. And then after a one-on-one session, like this really helped, blah, 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 whatever the case is. And so it's just like, and I have my clients reach out to me at random times. Hey, are you going, I'm kind of going through this. What's your opinion on it? Or, what can I start to interact with here? And then I kind of address it. And so, I definitely like to be as interactive as I can with everybody. Because there's definitely, and obviously it'll change as my practice gets bigger and my availability will be a little bit less, but I like to get back to everyone as fast as I can and to interact with these things. Because some people are like, it's like make an appointment in 2 weeks and I'll get back to you and we'll hop on the one-on-one session. But until then, like, yeah, good luck with everything. It's like, no, like I'll interact with this stuff with you, even if it means me taking time out of my day when I'm working on some other things to help you out. Because I mean, that's what I'm here for. I deeply connect to the work that we do here. So, yeah.
I understand. And full disclosure, I've yet to meet a counselor, therapist, psychiatrist who hasn't ran into that imposter syndrome feeling. So yeah, I think it's definitely natural when you're going to help people. Like, what do I really know? Like, those kind of things. So yeah, I completely understand that. Well, Brad, I really appreciate you being able to just kind of share a little bit about you, your story, what you do, how you help others through your story, and I think that's awesome. Do you have like a shout out or a plug that you would like to give?
Sure. Yeah. So you could find me on Instagram at Mighty Brad Official. Snapchat is probably my biggest platform currently. That is, I think, to actually look me up, it's BGLANTZ3, or it's Brad Glantz Life Coach. You might be able to find it under one of those two. YouTube is Mighty Brad. You can find my podcast, solo videos, shorts there. And in terms of coaching inquiries, best way to reach me is through social media. I will have a business-specific phone number coming soon, but at the moment, social media is definitely the best way to reach me. And yeah, for I guess suppose for anybody who's seeing this and is interested in potentially coaching, just let me know that you watched this episode, and I'll give you a week of free trial with no commitments to the group coaching that I do, so you can try everything out, see if you find it's a good fit for you, and take it from there.
Awesome. Love to throw in those shameless plugs whenever we can. Yeah. Well, Brad, thank you once again. Thank you for everything. Thank you for sharing it with us. I love the concept of, just having another level of support. Because at the end of the day, it's not about, which license or certification we have. While, some of those are important and required by the state laws a lot of times. Having another level of support, another way of, helping people, I think is awesome. So thank you very much for taking the time out your day.
I appreciate that, and I really appreciate you guys hosting me.